Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever this finds you. Howdy, campers, as they say in Texas. And yeah, but not too overused, so don't go crazy with it. I'm John Nelson, the plug-in CEO of JKO Works and Plug-in Business, and a few other side projects that are going on at present. And we wanted to jump in here real quick with this one about time management, because I'm trying to make the most of my time. So after this, I got to go. No, just kidding. But seriously, this is something that has kind of stepped in my way as something that we need to talk about and address. But full disclosure, it's something that I don't do as well myself as I would like to admit, right? Nor do we all. Okay, none of us really quite get that done sometimes, do we? So if we're being completely honest with ourselves. So that's what I wanted to spend some time talking about. These are some bits and pieces of wisdom that I've picked up on. They're not mine. You've seen a couple of them on the internet lately. The first one in particular seems to be making its way around, which is cool. But otherwise, it's we delved a little deeper into it, and I hope maybe it can give you some clarity. If you're looking to take a little stock during the summer to kind of reorganize some things, and this might be a good way to go. Might be a good way of looking at things. So if you will permit me, we'll visit some about this. Sorry, I've got to turn on the everything is being a little interesting these days, and I guess Facebook changed their algorithm again about how we do lives, so we're going to have to figure that one out. Isn't that joyous? So sorry, I'm trying to get my mouse to behave. There we go. Now we're good. Now we got it going on. But we're going to talk about Time Bandits. No, not that bad movie in 1981 or something. That thing was awful. It's a definite sign up for the B movie weekend. And in fact, I think we had it on the B movie weekend, one of the very first ones we did. But yeah, it was awful. But Time Bandits in general are those things that, to me anyway, jump in, completely throw you off track, the things that are generally scheduled in most of our lives all the time, to prevent our focus from being what it's supposed to be. So we're going to help deal with some of those if you're really looking to do some major organization, right? So let's get into that. What we're going to talk about today, this is the thing I was talking about, the $1 Million Day. You've probably seen this around the internet now, and there's a group I'm doing some stuff with right now that they have brought it up. The leaders of that have brought it up as guidance. It's an interesting concept, and we'll get into that. We'll also talk about blocking time, and how to do that, and how it might help you, benefit you. Third thing, we're going to talk about the big three, which is something I've seen before and kind of latching onto. It's a good place to start when you're setting. A lot of it is about setting up your schedule for the week and taking it 1 week at a time and seeing where that gets you. And then the fourth thing is we're going to do some things talking about tasks and task lists and how not to get sidetracked in those, because even I'm guilty of, I don't know about you all, but I'm guilty of setting up these elaborate systems, these things that are amazing to track every bit of time that I do, and then being completely victimized by the system, if I'm being totally honest. So kind of get run over. I'm sure you do too. So we're going to talk about some ways maybe to get around that, and I hope this is something that is helpful for you. So let's start with the $1 Million Day. Now, after doing a little bit of research, as I say, we're using this concept in one group, and then I've seen it a couple of other places. So it is actually a book with a way too long title, publishers. That's way too long. They usually add those caveats on the end after the hook, which is the $1 Million Day. So they add these really long things that it's just like, okay. So let's break down the concept. All right. The concept of the book is this. If you and I'm sure this is what he was trying to get at, but the concept is this: if you were given, somebody came along randomly and said, "I will give you $1 million if you can get all those things that you've been procrastinating about, all those things you've been messing around about, done in the next 24 hours, and you clear all of those lingering projects. So what would those projects be is the thing. So the what would you prioritize? How would you work through that? And it's basically on the premise, or at least it starts with the premise anyway, that if you want something done, you should give it to a busy person. That's something that I've actually only recently heard, but it makes a lot of sense, because when you're busy, when you're active, think about when you've gone and you've been at work, you've been at school, and you had an absolutely full day of stuff going on. I mean, you're rolling, you're going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's just clicks and it just works. And then at the end of the day, you're dog tired. I just want to sleep, but you feel accomplished. You've got a lot done in a short amount of time. You've compressed that time and made it in such a way that you're being completely efficient. And we don't always have those times, but don't we love them when they come along? I mean, I don't know if we could handle them every day, all day, honestly. But it's like an adrenaline rush. It's a something or other. But what you find, the lessons from this is what you find is that you prioritize things differently, you organize things differently, you work efficiently, you don't waste movements, you don't waste you don't spend, if you're up against the deadline, you're going from one to the next to the next. You're trying to get as many done at one time as you can if possible. And you're clearing your decks, and there's something liberating about that. In fact, found a quote from the author here, from Mark Hoverson. I hope that's how you say that. I apologize if it's not. But the quote says, as I begin to purge the past and the undone. Remember, this is getting everything you've never done in your life taken care of in 24 hours, and you get $1 million. At least you approach it with that mentality anyway. So as I began to purge the past and the undone, I found a new capacity rise within me, capable of achieving more impact and wealth. I don't know about that. More impact and wealth than I ever imaged. I think that's imagined, but the quote says imaged, so we go with it. But so basically, he's confirming this. Mr. Halverson's confirming this. It's as you get going through your day, as you get everything laid out, cycled out, planned out as to how you're going to do this, it's liberating. Why don't we do it more often? We probably couldn't keep it up for years at a time. But why don't we do something like that more often and reap the benefits of it? So that's the concept behind the $1 million day. So the idea is approach everything like it's $1 million day as best you can. You're gonna fall short. You're gonna it's like the leader of this group that I'm a part of right now. It's a sales challenge, and he's talking about, I would rather you overshoot, set lofty goals and not meet them versus set two easily attainable goals and blow them out of the water, because then that breeds complacency. And he's right. It breeds. Whereas if you keep having that goal, that carrot in front of you, you're trying to get to, you'll work harder. You'll figure it out. You may fail, but you'll continue to do it better, and you get back on the horse and keep trying to catch up and trying to do the best you can to make it happen. So that's a concept behind the $1 million day. So incorporate that into your life however you feel that's appropriate. Okay. Now let's talk about blocking time. This may be a method to do that, and this is something that I'm engaging in right now. And so it makes it makes a lot of sense to me. And the concept, basically, I don't have a model to show you, but I guess I could show you my calendar, but it's you block most every hour of your working day. And you don't get into granular detail with it, but you have these. So what you end up with on your calendar is these colorful blocks of decent sized chunks of time in a given day, in a given week, and make them as repetitive as possible. So these are some guidelines behind that. So
let's see, what did I put in here? This is.
So the first thing is we can be productive in short spurts. That's the idea behind it. If you did see my calendar, you would see these things just listed out. I mean, they're not every 30-minute blocks. They're usually about 2 hours at a time. 2 to 3 hours at a time is how this is blocked off. What happens in the middle there is too mundane a detail. You would be a slave to your calendar if you sit there and try to figure that out. But it is based on the concept that we do this in short bursts. My calendar is like this. We do sales, prospecting in the morning for a couple of hours, or actually start out answering messages. I got this one from Sheena. It's Sheena Lee Kinnerly. It's a great calendar. So you answer messages and all in the morning, for a little bit. Then I spend my time sales prospecting for a couple of hours. Then in the middle of the day, and that early time, and there's a later time, it's by design. That later in the day is designed to catch people at an important time of theirs. So when they're available and they're not focused on other stuff. So we can do that. So I'm doing that mid-morning. I'm doing production time. I'm working on videos like this. I'm working on other stuff. There's some webinar things that are coming out that we'll be doing, putting that together. Then the afternoon after lunch is prospecting again for a little bit, though I may switch that around kind of to seeing how this goes. And then at the end of the day, the end of the work day, it will be basically setting up for the next day's prospecting and spending time doing that and putting that in place. I may flip those around, but the way the schedule works right now, and the way we set up some of the videos to do, it works best this way. Your schedule may be different. Your day may be different, and that's perfectly fine. But it's still based off of the idea that we work in short bursts of time. You focus on one thing specifically for a couple of hours. You give it some real effort. Then you take a short break. Then you switch to something else that's different on your brain, right? So, and this prevents you from blurring your work time and your personal time, because I don't know about you, but that happens to me, where I end up working harder, not smarter. Where, a matter of fact, somebody I just went through a success blueprint session with, who's actually now in this group, made it a point, and I thought it was a good one, that this is, after this time, this is my family time. This is what I do. This is, I'm busy off, working over here. So I'm not doing work. This is strictly for my family. I needed to get my family back. And so I did. And so that's what she does. And it's great. But this blocking time is intended to prevent some of that from happening, right? So you can block. Okay. I'm just going through this and catching up to it. Blocking off, do this 1 week at a time. Okay. So try to set your schedule as best you can. If you make wholesale changes, don't go 2 days and then try to change it. Wait a little longer before you make wholesale changes. But really what I'm talking about here is set this up at the beginning of the week. This is the advice I've received. This is the advice I'm trying to follow. Set this up at the beginning of the week, work through that time frame, and whenever but do it like the very last thing on Friday that you do, or at the end of your week, and the night before the first day of your week. So in my world, I would do this either Friday afternoon with some spare time, or I would do it Sunday night, because my first work day is Monday morning. I would not do it Monday morning, because this just crowds into everything. If you're trying to block this time off and look at your schedule and set appointments there where they're appropriate, and just kind of have a look at what's coming. Try to do this one of those earlier times, and you'll fall into a rhythm of it where a lot of it is the same. You'll know what times you spend with people. You'll know what times you're prospecting. You'll know what times you're developing. You'll know what times you're fulfilling, doing other stuff. And block that time out. Add some buffer time in there, a little bit each way, or some flexibility. say, for example, you decide to do something that is different after some time and trial on your average afternoon, late afternoon. But you don't have it really blocked out that way. Add a little bit extra time, or if a call runs long, or if a customer calls and has a quick question. Don't be so fanatic. Oh, I've got to go prospect. I've got to go button. Well, okay, this is money calling, so you need to figure that out. So add a little bit of buffer time, not where it takes over your whole thing, but be able to have some flexibility in case something happens that it doesn't completely wreck you. And that's why going back to the section above here where we talked about blocking out your time. My mouse is really messed up. Coming back up here where you do everything in short bursts. This will allow you to be flexible, but you're not so down in the details with what you're doing that if a call runs long or something pops up that you have to deal with, that if you're so minute on the level of setting your calendar, that will wreck you. Something like this will wreck you. But if you have the extra flex space that you can do that, then fine. And probably the most important final tip in blocking your calendar is if you mess up, keep going. Don't wreck the whole system and throw it out because I failed. I screwed it up. We all do. It's the whole New Year's resolution thing. We start with the best of intentions, and 2 weeks into it, the wheels come off, as they say, and you just completely wreck the whole thing. Versus putting it back together, trying to assess what you did or what you could change or what you may not want to do again, and starting again and picking up where you left off and keep going. So you're gonna mess up. It's a guarantee. Keep going. Don't get off that horse. All right. So now let's move to the concept of the big three, which I think is actually a pretty cool concept. And I've tried to implement it before and it hasn't gone as well as I wanted, but true to the advice I just gave you, you get back on the horse and you keep going. So here I am. So the big three basically works like this. It's set your three biggest priorities. Now these are things that are not routine things you normally do. So for example, don't set prospecting. I'm gonna get more clients as one of your big three. Be specific with what these are and have these be standalone things that are not normally a part of what you do. Okay. So that, have them be that where these are easy things. Well, okay. I'm going to back up because they're really not easy things, but try to make these goals something like, I'm going to finish up my webinar development. I'm going to create this new category of posting for content. I'm going to create this sequence to try to get customers. It's not the getting of the customers, it's the creating of the sequence to get them. And so have that be something, make it be individual, make it be kind of by its standalone, by itself, jumping down to the third thing, and no more or less than three. Now there's a Monty Python thing here. If you've ever watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's they're talking about the number of three. You must count to three. Do not count to four, and do not count to two unless you intend to continue on to three. 5 is right out. So the scene I'm talking about if you're a Monty Python fan. If not, that's fine. But the thing still stands. It is, don't make it any more than 3. Don't make it any less than 3. Okay, challenge. If it's a challenge to get to 3, challenge yourself. If you got too much going on, spread it out over weeks, but don't make it any more than 3. And the reason is we are made as humans to process things in 3s. We just are, and I have proof of this. First of all, my father was involved somehow in a study back in the 1980s and they were using it for shipping container numbers. And if you notice, there's kind of three sections of there's if you ever look at a shipping container, it has a unique number, like a license plate number, but it's permanent. State or a VIN is a better way to own a vehicle. It's a better way to put that. But it's some number that's unique to it, that there's none other like it, that stays with it throughout its entire life, unless you go through this big process to change it. But they're numbered in groups of three. And what they found is people remember three that way. They don't remember four. They don't always remember two, but for whatever reason, it triggers in our head. Three is it. Or like the old Schoolhouse Rock song says, if I can cross-reference any more here, I'm doing good. But three is a magic number, and it's true. It shows up in so many things in life. It's really amazing what a magic number three is, truly is. So make these the three events that you do. The three standalone items that further what you do, that are not repetitive tasks, and that is your big three for the week, and work hard to accomplish them. And then when you do accomplish them, go do something else. Set something else up for the next week. Again, these are not repetitive tasks, so you're not going to be, I'm going to get 3 clients this week. Oh, okay. Well, that's not really it, because next week you still have to get 3 clients. Challenge yourself a little more than that to finish something up. So that's the concept behind the big three. And finally, let's talk about some task things. We all have tasks. We all have to-dos. We all have those types of things. And we've all probably in our lives come up with some sort of list somewhere to try to do this, however well-meaning it intended to be. So, so try to utilize lists wherever practical. Okay. There's some things in life that are just not practical. And there's a danger here we'll talk about in a second. And we've already talked about a little bit with the calendar, that if you can overdo this, you can overplay it, and then it's of no use to you whatsoever. So in the places where lists are actually practical, consider being a list person, and really committing yourself to that, and follow the list. Don't just make the list and walk away from it, but check it off. There's something cool in our head. There's a reason that games work, because there's something cool in our head about checking off task lists, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be so ubiquitous as they are. So this could be in the form of an app, or it could be written, whichever one works for you. Use the system that works for you. If you're somebody who has to write something to remember it, fine, do it. Go get a little notepad. They make little small notepads, and you get those, and you keep that list on there, and that's your list. And then it gives you a place to check it off. Or if you are more like me and you're an app person, there's plenty for those. We use Microsoft To Do a lot around here. There are plenty of other apps. Google has its own tasks. There is Todoist, I think is how you say that. There's a lot of them. I mean, think about how many places you see checkboxes. We use Notion a lot around here too. And Notion has a whole checkbox thing. So that's like a to-do. They have a whole to-do list function. There's lots of them. But find the one that fits the way you flow. Find the one that fits your lifestyle. Find the one that is not so difficult that it just completely rules you. And that sort of goes to the third advice here. Don't overdo this. Don't overthink this. You can get deep in the weeds on your average, particularly your average app. You can set reminder dates and due dates and priorities and subtasks and different listings of all that. Don't do that to yourself if that's not who you are. If that is who you are, I guess go ahead, but still don't be a slave to it. Okay? Make it quick. It should take you seconds to fill out a to-do list item or to check it off. And that's all you need to do. Once you set that up and then you go back through and you check it off, you are done with that item. Move on. So you don't need the analytics of your to-do list and what you've accomplished there. So, it's you can, like the calendar, like the big three, like the some of the other stuff, you can be a slave to this. Try not to be. the block calendar, you can just completely go crazy with it and get into minute details. Don't do that either. Keep it at the 3,000 foot view of your list, not the 30,000 foot view. If you're in an airplane, now you still want to be able to see it, but you don't want to be able to swoop down and do something about it at a minute level if you don't have to. Okay, so that's my little advice. Take it for what it's worth of how to maximize everything. Now, kind of where do we fall into this? These are some of the tools that we use, and these are some of the things that we help you to do. So, but we do this for a company, and so there are levels of details. There are lists we work from. There are calendars that we meet regular events. But the one we always start with is the success blueprint. We want to get to know your company. We want to get to know your rhythm. We want to get to know all of that. If you're not working to the level that you want to work at, digital marketing agencies, let's talk to you for just a second, because there's a lot of you in the Facebook group. Would you consider some areas that maybe we would cover that you don't do so well to help the things to come alongside your clients and give them a complete 360-degree approach? So we're working on the back end with it of business and marketing optimization, but there is a front end that is marketing optimization. Well, guess who gets that business? There's an expression that says dance with the one that brought you. So if there's marketing things that need to be done, who better to do that than the marketing agency that set it up? But it's all a part of a larger plan that we create individually for every customer. And we work with them in their style of working, in their style of having tasks and to-do lists. I have a big 5 that I meet with my clients regularly. These are the 5 points we're going to cover this week, and that's it. And we're going to inch them along. And it's some work for me. It's some work for them. And it inches everybody's the formal goals along working toward that. We're not going to get to $1 million a day status on this. We don't really roll at that particular level, but it's still worth doing some of it. And for those that are really committed to their business, we get pretty close. So we meet. How this would work is your agency has clients that have more needs than just the marketing that you provide is going to be able to handle. So maybe you get us to come alongside. Something we talk about, alliances and joint ventures, and we're going to revisit it and collaborations in there as well, because it's a big, huge deal. And it's part of what makes everybody's life better. So we will come along with that. We do a success blueprint or digital success blueprint on your client. See exactly what profits they're leaving on the table, what they could be doing differently, and what that result is, what that result could look like, and if we did a lot of things differently. And then if they want help with that, we set about executing it. We set about the road. We have a roadmap then ready to go, and we start stepping into it step by step, week by week, working with them, working with you, working with them. And so we're not here to take over your client at all. We're here to come alongside you and make the client's world better, because we're both working together and referring the appropriate things, because some of those strategies are marketing. It's about 50-50 as to what is marketing things. I mean, foundational things like referrals and reputation management and, eventually, yes, ads, or maybe you need some branding work done. And they need some branding work done. They really ultimately would need their website done, or they need to be noticed more, SEO. So there are ways to do that. Although we got some interesting revelations from Google recently, didn't we, kids? But there's all that work to be done. So how then do you then meanwhile we're working on the back office of all that. So we're working with them to get joint ventures and things in place, or not even just a collaboration in place. Who's buying before them, who are their customers buying from before they get to them, and who are their customers buying from after they get to this company. And we work with the relationships with the referrals to make that happen. We're working with, are their prices where they need to be? Could they increase them just a little bit? I know prices are increasing across the board, but are there ways to do that but still show such value that you can raise at almost any level you want? The market dominating position for me is a huge thing that is underdeveloped. So that's why recently we did that whole webinar about what are the ones that are important. It's not even, it was a live. Market dominating position, compelling offer, and the marketing fundamentals. It will be a webinar here coming up pretty quick that'll be available anytime anybody wants it. And we'll dive even deeper into the market dominating position in future webinars. But that's the type of stuff that we look at to complement what you're doing. If that resonates with you, if that is something that you feel would help your agency stand out, then let's talk about what that would look like, where it benefits both of us. It helps you provide much more value to your client and keep that billing coming. And it helps us by keeping our billing coming as well, but allows us to work with different types of clients and to do it through you, not around you. And so we all get the benefit of that collaboration and what that could look like. So that's what we do in a nutshell. We're going to be diving even deeper into some of that. So I hope you found value in it. It's boy, there's lots of craziness going on here on this live. So we need to jump off here in a minute. I think it's probably glitched out a couple of times. Ooh, that's rough. Okay, so thank you all for watching. There's going to be more coming up here very, very soon, and we got some interviews. We've got some other things coming up that are going to be great fun. So I hope this was in some way my ramblings were helpful. I hope in some way my ramblings were, at least a place for you to start, where then you start looking out to, this is, hey, what can I do? What can I do differently? How can I handle this differently? How can I, how can I take a different approach here and just be more productive in what it is that I do? So thank you so much for watching. We will catch up to you very, very soon. All right, take care.